Welcome everybody to PaperSpec's Foiling's Next Frontier Sleeking webinar. I'm Sabine Lenski, founder of PaperSpecs, and I'm very excited to share some very shiny ideas and technology with you today. Before we get started, just some quick housekeeping. At this stage, all attendees are in listen-only mode. I hope you've all brought a lot of questions, or as they arise, please submit them utilizing the chat area on your screen. We will try to answer as many of them as possible towards the end of the webinar. And as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be emailed to you after the event. Now, we're giving away some very cool pieces to some live attendees today. So if you have some friends that would like to join, please send them to the bit.ly PS Webinar 113. There's still time to join us. Now, I'd like to thank our Nobelos for making this event possible. Nobelos began printing as a trade finisher in 1989, and from humble roots, the company evolved into an innovator for print finishing technology, constantly introducing new and innovative technologies to the North American market, including most recently digital variable data foiling known as sleeking. Today, Nobelos operates 3 sales centers, 2 production facilities, and 4 regional warehouses across North America, serving thousands of clients in the print, publishing, folding carton, flexible packaging, and label markets. They're based in Knoxville, Tennessee. Nobelos is a global leader in thermal laminate technology, driving innovation in scuff-proof, holographic, metallized, tactile textures. You get it. Lots of printable films. And I'm very excited to have 2 speakers on today. Erica Bartos is the founder and partner of Hooray Design based in Ontario, Canada. With a good number of years of experience in design and print combined, she brings a realistic knowledge of how design translates to a final printed piece. Her perspective remains designing is a privilege and the details matter, start to finish. Perfect for our perfectionists, right? And we also have Chris Bworny here. Chris is the VP of New Business Development for Perfect Communications, where he has spent 24 years with a primary focus on print. Currently, Chris oversees the sales and marketing of all digital and print products. Chris has been active in AIGA Philadelphia for 8 years. Although not a designer, Chris is passionate about design and dedicated to empowering the design community to recognize its full potential. So speaking of full potential, Chris, a lot of people think print is, well, dare I say it, less relevant today. And for the little print that we do, we have even fewer options today than ever before. Can you paint a picture for us to get us started?
Sure. Thank you, Sabine, and definitely. So a little bit of background. As Sabine mentioned, I have been at my company for 24 going on 25 years now. So when I started, print was at the top of the hill, right? So print was the second largest industry in the United States, just behind automobile manufacturing. Everything we did in terms of communication was with print. Companies had whole departments just for print. There were people whose job it was just to buy print. People got excited about print. They invested resources into designing for print. They were thinking about paper, about finishing, everything from annual reports to marketing communications, but even manuals, basic texting, all of it was print. In 2007, and it was coming for a little while, but in 2007, the world changed. We had a financial crisis, and that financial crisis actually served as a catalyst to sort of convert our communication, where we did everything with print, to shifting all of our time, energy, and interest into digital. All that design energy that used to go into print, it just vanished overnight. And really companies were not only getting rid of a lot of people in their marketing departments, and we saw huge layoffs, but we saw all that time and energy converted into digital communication channels, whether it was social, email, just even website development, and how do we take advantage of this new and seemingly inexpensive medium. And let's forget about print. Well, I think it was kind of predictable, right? what became exciting and new and interesting quickly became clutter. And the big area, and I will say much of that communication that used to be relegated to print, the shelf full of encyclopedias that at least a lot of us had in our homes, that's all gone now, right? That content deserves to live in digital media. But what we've seen is that, in particular with marketing and trying to get messaging to an audience that's memorable, a lot of that time and energy has shifted, I won't say away from digital media, but people are remembering that we're physical beings, and we're starting to see much more interest and activity around creating interesting print pieces. And this is important to think about, and these are some samples of a new type of technology that we'll be talking about today, sleeking. But we're seeing now companies saying, hey, how do we create something memorable? How do we use this medium? How do we get a message into somebody's hands? And as we do research and as new information emerges about how to create a message that will withstand the onslaught of the 1,999 other messages we receive every day, the idea of creating an experience, a physical experience, and using those attributes that only print has, we can now reach that audience and have them remember a message. So for me as a printer and for us as a company, and I think industry-wide, we've had to rethink this medium. I mean, we grew up, right? Print was all about the technical parts of it. It was about this craft of getting this manufactured product out the door on time, et cetera. Well, now we've got to think about, wait a minute, how do we leverage this particular medium to make an impact, to drive people to digital assets, and to help our clients stand out and be different and be recognized. So we've gone from what used to be about volumes, right, from when Gutenberg printed those first Bibles up until early 2000s. It was the media primarily for information. Well, now, at least in our view of print, that it should no longer be an informational media where there's lots of words being used, but rather we should inspire people. And we want to almost apply the same mindset that we apply with our digital, right? So a lot of work has gone around creating an excellent user experience, and that, you're going to see that on the next slide, is that make that connection about UX. But it's here. It's in the ability to make an emotional connection. I like to tell people I still look both ways before I cross the street, right? I'm a physical being. I exist in a physical world, and here is this physical piece in my hand that I have to confront and I have to make a decision about. Well, that's the thing about print. And if it's done well, if we apply that same amount of imagination and energy that used to go into print, we can create something that will delight our audience, that will convey a sense of value immediately when you touch it, which means that your messaging will also be perceived with that equal amount of value. And if you think about the pieces that have impacted you the most likely there's an element of value in there that stuck with you, that left that great connection. So we want to think about, what's the experience for the person on the other end? I mean, with print, in particular direct mail, it's so expensive to put that into somebody's hands, the distribution part of it. Don't skimp on the creation of it. Let's figure out what's available now, what technology we have to make this piece really special and unique so that the person on the other end getting it understands that you took the time to think about their experience in opening it. And I believe print can reward those messages for the people who plan around it, especially when you take into account new technologies that we've never been able to use before. And that's one of the ones that we're going to look at today. And I'll toss it to Erica now, who is going to
I'm tossing
give
in
a
first.
technical explanation. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I promised you guys we're giving something away. And for those of you who do not have a sleeking sample yet, why the heck not? So here's your chance to win one of 25 notebook sets. And actually, Chris's company, Perfect Communications, has created these. They're super cool. They're sets of 3, and they use sleeking, yes. So if you're interested to win one of the 25 sets, please go to the bit.ly Sleeking sample. Now, if you are a PaperSpecs VIP member, you will get one of those sets guaranteed in your next VIP box that is shipping next week, I think. So you're safe and good and sound on that one. And not to worry, we'll leave this up or we remind you again of this offer later on. But Erica, what the heck is Sleeking? Help.
Let's see if I can outline this all. That's what we're going to talk about. So thanks, Sabine, for the introduction as well. And it's an honor to speak to you today all just about this Sleeking technology. So just as she said, I've been a designer in the print and industry for over 18 years now. And I've always appreciated a well-executed print design when you get that in your hands and you feel it. So, and I just Print Specs and giving a whole shout out and a voice to print again is an amazing thing that they're doing. So I've had a privilege of working with Sleeking technology for over 5 years now, and what is possible with it continues to truly inspire me as a designer, as this technology makes foil and spot finishing accessible for shorter and medium runs with your projects. And I'm going to take this portion now to speak to what's available while you're incorporating the Sleeking technology into your designs. Just some of the benefits that are available and to understand, obviously, what Sleeking is. And we will go right into that now. I recall the first time I was asked to design a sample piece and showcase what Sleeking technology was and what's possible. And the biggest initial hurdle really is to understand simply what this technology is and being offered. So once I grasped that, the creative possibilities truthfully became very vast. It's always important to start with this foundation, especially from a design perspective. So I'm just going to walk through this. If you can follow me here, I'm just going to make a statement here so you understand it. Sleeking at its very core is print technology that bonds metallic foils or transparent finishes. There's holographics and gloss and matte finishes to digital ink. So there's no dyes required to achieve those foils, and there's no additional plates for spot coatings and so on. The foil finishes bond directly to that printed ink. So the big picture here is that Sleeking is a layering of these inks, these digital inks and metallic foils to create a design. So the example you're seeing here, I just want to lay sort of a very basic foundation of what you would see as far as and how you can start to process using this in your designs. So to accomplish this full color image here where you're seeing this brilliant metallic foil and then you're seeing all these shadowings and image over top. The first step is laying down digital ink because of course you need that first. So in this case it's a rich black ink. Second, now you get to use these finishes. So we've laid down a silver Sleeking foil here. And then the third step in the second part of the artwork is bringing in more color and another digital print run to complete the design. And you got this final piece here where you're seeing this amazing metallic foil finish through working directly into your design. And it's not just a traditional stamping foil anymore. It's actually a part of the whole thought process and the way that you create it. So if you can keep this basic process in mind moving forward, it will help set the foundation for understanding the samples I'm going to walk through. As a designer, obviously the big question always is what are these new creative finishing opportunities that is making this Sleeking so great to design with? You want to know why. Why am I going to use this? Why am I going to entertain the idea of it? So I want to walk through here and highlight 4 that really are distinctives. There's many more, and again, creativity really just takes you all over with it, but these are 4 sort of distinctives. So in this, what you've got before you here on the screen and shown in the sample, Sleeking foils can be overprinted with digital color. So we can create some just fantastic dimension and brilliant imagery. So as you see here, this antique gold chair here now becomes very realistic with the true foil appearance coming through once you can overprint with these colors. And further to overprinting on Sleeking foils, you can emulate pretty much the whole color palette of foils by overprinting silver Sleeking with a digital ink. So in this case here, we've got a silver foil base, and then we've gone over it, and we've created a teal foil. Another example of this here, Sabine supplied the sample, which is a fantastic invitation she used. You can see here that you're not limited to just one color foil as you would be with a traditional stamping foil, but because we're using digital inks, we can overprint an array of any of the colors that we're looking to achieve, so it really opens up a lot of creativity in that. This is one of my favorite features with it. There's just so much creative opportunity here with this, the combining of color on these foils. The second feature I want to point out here is because sleeking foils because the finishes adhere directly to digital print, so whatever artwork you're laying down, ensuring perfect registration, and you can see it here, we can get extremely detailed. We have had success with line weights up to, or as thin as 0.5 points. So, and I know, Chris, did you want to just quickly speak to this too, and sort of your first experience?
I'm sorry. Can we jump back because we got a number of questions, and I want to make sure we got this one right before we move any further.
Sure.
So maybe in my own simple words, this is a three-step process. So what you do is, because the question is, where does the color and the foil and whatever. So it's basically, they used to be in the 70s, it was batik or something like that. But the concept is similar. You put down the black, see, tells you how old I am. That I remember this thing. So basically the foil adheres to the black ink. So the ink is put down first. Then the pieces run through the sleeker and the foil is put on top. So theoretically now you could leave it at the gold chair if you wanted to, but you can run it through the press again and add CMYK on top or alongside the piece. So in this case you see that the chair has been overprinted, so hard to photograph, but the chair would be shiny while the upholstery would be matte, flat, so to speak. Or like in the case that we have here with the spoons, you can overprint so that you really have this beautiful reflective. The spoon is my favorite, I have to say. I've loved it from the get-go. It's just so beautiful. So Chris, I know. We're designers. We geek out on this kind of stuff. So I hope that clarifies the question because I felt it was important that we all know how this works before we move onward. So thank you. Sorry, Erica, if you want to lure Chris in again to whatever it was you needed from him.
Certainly, and like I said, the process of this is a really basic process. So truthfully, if you understanding this, you'll build on this entirely if you begin to use this technology. But that really, truly, again, what Sabine recapped there is what's happening. So moving just back into this piece here and just speaking a little bit to the details that are possible because you're just the foil is adhering directly to your ink. So you can get extremely detailed, and Chris is just going to speak quickly to sort of his first experience when he saw this artwork on the test run.
So, this image actually started a conversation with Erica and I earlier because that feather is part of a test sheet that you do when you first install the Nobelus equipment. And it really struck me because we do conventional foil stamping here as well as sleeking. And this was one of the first things that came off that machine. We printed it, we ran it through the machine, and the first test sheet off literally was this incredibly detailed, and it wasn't just a feather, there was a whole sheet of line work. And it just blew my mind because I realized to create a die line, first of all, I don't know that we could even do this with a conventional foil stamp without spending an incredible amount of money to get it there. And for us to see this and recognize, oh my gosh, all we have to do is have an illustration or anything that we can create. We've got an instant die for a foil just by printing it. And it was something that, struck me that look at the opportunity that's here. Now, I don't want to overemphasize how easy it is because on the one hand, it's easy, but as you'll see when we get into it, there's a lot of experience and learning, and but the possibilities for this are truly exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for just expanding on that. The details are great, which from a design perspective too, you're not worrying about that to the same extent. So it really gives you more leverage and ability in your designs. to further to this, another one of the features here that you're seeing here on this name card is variable data is now possible. So again, because you're laying artwork and you're not relying on dies or anything further to that, you can lay down artwork, different lots, as many as you want, and the foil is going to adhere to it, which opens up this whole new world of variable data. So anyone who has designed in the invitation or the stationery markets or even just business cards or personalized marketing, this sleeking technology now offers this whole new world of variable data in your designs. So truly it is as simple in that sense of that you're varying the artwork, you're changing the artwork, and then you're varying the outcome. So it's just another brilliant feature that this brings to the table, especially for shorter runs or business card runs, or again, so many facets and different applications to that. This sample here is just showing the name on a place card. And additionally, sleeking simply makes it possible to use these metallic foils on, again, these smaller runs where before you would be, the die cost, like it just would have never been an option. So opening up this whole variable data is just great within design creativity and what you can offer your clients. One of the final features here that I wanted to point out was just the visual contrast and the spot finishes that can be achieved as well. So I just want to touch on this briefly. To this point, we've really talked about foils and what's possible with these amazing foils, the overprinting, the colors that you can achieve with it all. And again, I mentioned briefly there's finishes as well. So you've got a gloss and a matte, and you've got some holographics finishes as well. So sleeking allows for this spot or this flood gloss or holographic. And in these samples, you can see some of that. So here we've got the sky here has been spot finished with holographics, and then it's not on the ground and the tent. So you've got this amazing contrast then between this holographic effect and then the image on the bottom. And in this case, in some security applications or again passes, tickets, again, whatever you're working with, we've got some spot holographic here along the top. Within the text and along the bottom. So traditionally in the past, we've kind of looked more towards laminates or stocks to get some of these effects, and now having this ability to finish it in a spot finishes with these create some great effects. Another quick note worth mentioning is that combining these sleeking foils and finishes, there are also printable laminates that offer some amazing further tactile and visual contrast. Specifically, one I just want to make note of is the Caress Soft Touch laminate, printable laminate that's available. So it's a brilliant soft touch that Nobelis has. It's called Caress, and it when combined with holographics or even overprinted on top of foils, again, some of the visual effects can just be stunning. And again, it's so hard to capture it on screen, but I want to point that one out to you as well. This is an additional sample here, just showing a spot holographic on an invitation. So before I hand this just back over to Chris, I want to recap just briefly on the file setup. I know that was a question as well that came up just when Sabine had mentioned. So understanding how file setup works is critical in how far you're going to be able to go with the creativity and technology. And we're just touching on the foundations here, but want to make sure you understand that the process moves on from here. So if you can remember that sleeking foils and finishes, they adhere to digital inks and toners. So as you can see here, again, we've laid down this rich black in the case when we're using foils. You separate your file layers to isolate the portions that you want to receive this sleeking foil or finish. So then you're going to run it through again, and you're going to sleek your foil finish on it. And again, this is another overprint example. So
wait. Not confusing people because we had this question at least 10 times already.
Sure.
So this is a separate offline process. You take it from your digital press to the Nobelis sleeking device and run the sheet through the sleeking device where then the foil is adhered, and then you bring it back to your digital press, and now we're at step number 3.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for clarifying that, Sabine. Yes. So this is your digital print, and then you're moving on here to the sleeking device. That's where again we apply the sleeking, and then moving on here, and you're taking it back to your digital press. So yes, correct, exactly what you said. And you've got again this final product where, and again you don't have to print over top of these foils, but again it's just a new option that's available, and the effects that can be created are quite brilliant. So. The bottom line here is just to enjoy this new creative opportunity to design and print with your projects, and there's just amazing visual and tactile results that you can get with it. So there's so much possible, and truly from a design perspective, once you get working with it, once you get working with your printer on it, your creativity will really take you as far as it can go with it.
So one quick question or point of clarification before it comes back to me, Erica, but I'm seeing the questions when we're talking about a digital printing press. In my understanding of this, now we have the HP Indigo 12,000 and the HP Indigo 7900. My understanding is that this was specifically developed for the HP Indigo. Does it also work with toner-based systems, or is it only Indigo?
I believe it does. That would be something we can find out the details on, but I know Nobelus directly works with HP on this, but it is a digital technology, so it works with the digital inks and toners to the extent of if there are any that are not included in that. That would be, I don't have a direct answer on that, but I know, Chris, like you said, you work with HP in your company there.
Yep, correct. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, great.
Certainly.
Oh, so it's my turn.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, Chris.
You were talking. We'll pass it back over.
I like subtle segues. So one of the things, there are a number of technical questions I think that will be covered in this section, and then obviously we can stick around and answer some questions afterwards. But with regards to sleeking, as I mentioned, it was a pretty quick learning curve in terms of being able to apply the basic foil. Now, the foils that are available that I know about are silver, gold, rose gold, clear, and then holographic. In the silver, now primarily when we overprint the foils, we're only using the silver to overprint, but I believe you can also get gold that's overprintable as well. But in my experience, the silver has really been the best sort of base to use as an overprinting foil, because with the silver you can really
sort of foundational for colors. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of sleeking, there's so much that you can do. So I want to try and cover as much as possible, but then you're the designers, and I think you'll be able to take this and move the ball even further as we think about it. But one of the things that I love is overprinting foils. So my first experience with this is this project right here. So you can't really tell well from the foil. And one of the things that it's a challenge to photograph foil. So a lot of the photos we use, we've got things curved, and we're trying to give you as much of the experience as possible. But what you can't really tell from this photo, and I will bring this green arrow into play, this was actually printed without the foil, and that was printed with it. And what happened on this particular project is my client wanted to emphasize this mask. So she came to me and she said, how about putting a gloss, UV around it, or the spot gloss coating around the mask? And I was so happy to say, oh, I've got an even better idea. And so we took this image and we overprinted it on top of silver foil. And I can't tell you how beautifully this turned out. This, you can see these diamonds along here. It actually sparkles. I mean, it's to be able to take this piece of artwork and put it on top of foil and have it come out successfully like that was really awesome. And it's not just limited to sort of that static scenario of I have a piece of artwork that I want to make even more compelling. You can see here, this was a project that we did. I mentioned, I don't know, my involvement with the AIGA was mentioned. I'm actually on the Philadelphia board, have been for 8 years. So we do a lot of projects for AIGA, and one of the great things working in the creative community are the things that we get to do together. So in this case, we actually had 5 lots of posters that we printed over top of that base 20. So the 20 is silver foil, and we were then able to create all these different backgrounds and overprint it. And you can see from these images that we're getting foil in all different colors. So this one was really well received. And again, now this is one of those projects where, you know, it worked well, but we had to do a lot of work to get this to print properly. It took some time and energy, and that's one of the things I'm going to hit on going down the road is give yourself time. Give yourself the ability to experiment a little bit. We're very good at it now, but not only are you on a learning curve as a designer, but your manufacturer, if they don't have this equipment yet, when they get the equipment in, it's going to take them some time and really a willingness to take risks to get to the point where they can create these kinds of pieces. And thankfully, you know, my owner, my company, has been more than excited and generous in terms of really experimenting, and we've come up with some amazing results. I mean, you can see here the way that poster came out, and in real life, it's even more interesting. But, you know, I say here living with imperfection. What I'm talking about are the jobs. You're going to be able to do things that you've never been able to do before, and you're going to be able to create amazing results. But if you don't set yourself up to create products that you can live with, that you like, that you know you have time, and that's probably the key thing in all this is making sure that you've taken the time to think about what your results are, and then to do what you need to do to make it work. There's another facet of this that, you know, we've uncovered, and when we talked about the use of laminates, this machine, so ultimately Sleeking it's a foil laminate that goes on top of a sheet. It can be used on coated or uncoated, but it really is meant to be used with coated, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the things with the laminates themselves is not only do they create protective properties, but you can come up with some incredible combinations of color and light by using the laminate as a medium to make that impact. So, for example, the Caress laminate that was mentioned earlier is, out of all of the different approaches that we've taken to soft touch, and we have an offline machine for doing soft touch, we do a ton of soft touch coating. This laminate is by far the best experience in terms of soft touch. It's so perfectly supple, and not only by using it can you get an interesting touch for the person, but you can see what it does, or at least you can kind of see what it does for light. So what happens when you over-laminate this with a matte or a Caress laminate, you're actually converting the shiny foil here into probably the coolest looking metallic ink you've seen, right, where it flashes at you when it hits light. You can see it a little bit better in this next version of this, where here and here, you know, our client has created these images, and some of them were overprinted over top of the foil, and it just made the piece so compelling and interesting, especially when combined with the touch. Now you might notice we've got a little bit of misregistration here. It's tiny and it's magnified in this photo, but those are the kinds of things that, you know, you're going through a machine multiple times, so that you need to have a little bit of tolerance. This is something that we did recently. These are now the carriers that we send samples out in to our clients. Anytime we do a job, we get to delight them with this pocket folder, and you can see it's an envelope that we create. It's a custom carrier. We have the base artwork here, and then all these different colors, flood colors of ink on top of them. This was all printed on the HP Indigo 12,000, by the way. It's 20 by 29 inches. So not only are we able to create pieces digitally with less expense, we can actually do larger pieces. In fact, this piece, I'm going to go back earlier in the slideshow to an image I showed you right here, was a box that we did for How Design Live. If anyone was there, you might have seen people walking around with these boxes. They're 18 inches long, and you can see this foil stamp here. It really went across the whole entire sheet. So the cost to create the die for this foil was basically nothing. But the ability to print this, and in comparison to, you know, what we would have had to have done using conventional methods is really dramatic, and it's much better. But back to our envelopes, we've been really pleased with the results that we're getting. So we use it for ourselves because we like to make that impact for our clients, and I'm confident that if you create these kinds of pieces, you're going to delight your end users as well, and make pieces that are memorable. Something that you might not have thought of, how about foil stamping a solid area of the entire size of the sheet, right? If you were to try to foil stamp this conventionally, I would say please don't do that because it won't work, right? It would have scared me. Now we know we can do this. In this case, this was a piece that we did for a client. They wanted to replicate, if anyone remembers Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, this was their golden certificate. And rather than going to a very expensive sheet that really only has the gold on one side, we were actually able to do a two-sided full coverage gold foil that we then overprinted with the ticket information. So again, thinking about foil stamping almost without these kinds of restrictions that you would run into trying to do it conventionally. These are the field notes that we're sending out. I like to talk about using your time and imagination. In this case, we created 20 different covers, and we created this silver grid here, and then overprinted it with different colored foil. So if you submit for one of these are the field notes packet that we'll send out to you. And I have other samples if anyone's interested in seeing them. But by experimenting, by playing with different colors, different patterns, you can come up with some really great results that will guarantee to satisfy you.
So you overprinted some of these, right, Chris?
Yes. So these are all of these have, you can see this silver grid right here. That exists on all the books, and then we just change the pattern. So on this one, the foil appears blue. Here it's gold. Here it's red, it's silver. So those are the kinds of things that you can create by putting images over top of the foil. Did I answer your question?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to point it out because I think for people new to this, we're still wrapping our head around this. So.
Yes, I can appreciate that. And again,
and that's my segue. Yay! Ooh, ever so very convenient. So for those of you live on the call, you have a chance to win one of the 25 notebook sets that Chris was just talking about. Go to the Bitly Sleeking sample, and it's case sensitive, so please beware. We're leaving this link open till a little bit after the call today, so no need to rush away like crazy right now. And if you are a Paperspecs VIP member, you will find one of these sets in your box already that ships next week. Back to you, Chris.
And yes, so a lot of people are asking questions. I just want to address something real quick about sort of the affordability of it and the run length.
And that's what we're talking about in the Q&A, Chris.
There you go. All right, thank you. I'll keep going.
You're welcome.
Sabine knows she has to keep me moving. I'm like like the dog that sees the squirrel. So uncoated papers, I love uncoated stock. I personally think everything should be printed on uncoated on the HP Indigo because of the amazing results we can get. This can be used for uncoated paper. In fact, sometimes the texture on an uncoated stock will really help to make a piece look better. You can see here, and thank you, Sabine, for supplying this image. This image was printed on a linen sheet, and in this case, it's that same feather image that we saw earlier, but now we're pulling in the texture of the linen stock, and that's a really cool attribute of this, is that you get to maintain that pattern if you're using it creatively, but it's also something that you should think about, because if you want to print on a smooth stock, well, now you're putting a highly reflective material on something that feels smooth, but in reality, when you get to sort of the light bouncing off of it level, it's not smooth. So anytime I'm working with an uncoated stock, we want to have a conversation first about what are you planning on putting on there and how's it going to look. And so I always want to see the artwork first so I can help people make good design decisions. And I would say one of the keys to success in this is make sure you work with a partner that really knows what they're doing, that has experience with this, that understands what you're after as a designer, et cetera. But the results can be awesome, like you can see right here. The results can also be a little challenging. So in this instance, this is a situation that we weren't really expecting, right? We got to show the good and the bad and the ugly here. And so this was run, and this is actually on Patriot Blue. The way that, in order to show you kind of the scope of the problem, we had to shoot it in the way it makes it look black. But in this case, this was an Indigo certified sheet. We printed the image below on, as we always do, and then we went to overprint it with foil. Well, what happened is the foil definitely stuck to the image, but you can see it also stuck to the paper in an unexpected way. And as a result, we converted the Patriot Blue into a metallic shimmery paper. Well, that wasn't what the client was after, and because of that, especially if we're working on uncoated stock, I always want to have a plan B. Now, the original plan for this was to print this image you see here in silver foil and then overprint that green with the metallic. Well, the metallic didn't work out so well for that stock, so what we did instead is using the HP Indigo, we printed four hits of white ink underneath, then printed 4-color process on top of the image, and you can't tell here, but it's actually got a clear foil on top. So we were able to still create a reflective green image on a blue uncoated sheet. It wasn't metallic like it originally was, but it turned out to be a really cool piece with gloss. And the finished product, I think, is really good in this case. But you do want to have a plan B when you do this, because sometimes the material or the process was truly created for coated stock, but you can venture into uncoated. But just know that you might have to have a fallback plan in place. I'm here to say experiment, have fun with this, be really creative. I would love, my boss tells me I shouldn't, that we probably can't do this, but I want to do a half-tone, duotone with foil and black. So if anyone out there has a project that they think they'd like to try, you should reach out to me because I would love to do it. But experiment, have a lot of fun with this, and you're going to create some things that you just haven't been able to do before, and it's exciting stuff. And that brings us to our questions.
And we have ample of them. And some of them, as you know, are repeat questions, so I'm trying to weave my way through these. You already answered Judith's question, can it be select on coated and uncoated paper? Do you want to speak more to that?
Erica, do you want to handle that, or would you like me to?
I can jump in too. I could.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris. I mean, you just spoke to the uncoated stock. Again, I just see the importance, with the designer really working closely with your printer on it, and if they are willing to sort of take those steps to work through the process so much as possible. You've seen it just sort of in these last examples. Chris, did you want to expand on that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the times that we've used uncoated paper, we've had good results, or we've been able to get to good results. In that instance that I was showing you there with the silver on the Patriot Blue, we've had that happen in more than one instance. In one case, we were doing a Happy 2018 card on a black sheet using the gold stock. Sorry about that. And we saw a little bit of it, of the gold attaching to the black foil, but it was actually minimal, and we all agreed it made the piece look better. So our client was actually really happy with it in that instance. But the uncoated paper, I do believe it's because of the unevenness of the surface. I mean, if you work with it enough, you can pretty much get rid of it, but you just want to know that it's going to present additional challenges. So you want to give your manufacturer, your partner, some time to work on it and get it worked out. So
yeah,
that's a qualified yes.
Testing. Yeah, be not afraid to test. So I know that you need more toner down where normally we're on a coated sheet, you're getting away with one, with a rich black, so to speak. You might need, 300% of ink down first for the foil to adhere because the surface is more porous and more uneven. So there is
and
that.
Sorry, can I just add to you from a file setup perspective
Nope.
for a designer? You're still creating that base, the base file, so you would create that rich black, and that's where the connection really happens with your printer, because then they're going to run that through, on an uncoated stock enough. enough that it
Right, and your printer
Yeah.
will tell you what kind of combination of black they like. You know, which black
Mm-hmm.
usually for most people is like 40, 40, 40, 100, but your printer will tell you what formula works best for them.
Well,
Darren,
and there's actually, I want to hit on that for a minute, because one of the reasons that you have to use that formula of black is because you can't do 100% of 4 colors using conventional printing inks, right? So there's a such thing as, it's basically the amount of ink that you can put down in one place before the paper can't receive that much ink. With digital printing inks, with the Indigo in particular, I don't know about the toner-based systems, we can actually do a much higher percentage of ink holdout on the sheet. So I'm pretty sure if I really needed to get the ink to pile up, I could hit it 4 times with 100% of black and it will hold. But you know, that creates other challenges. But in general, those formulas can be tweaked a lot with digital printing.
right. So Annie wants to know, we're getting very technical here, so, but Annie wants to know, what is the machine called again you're using?
There's different machines that are available that different printers will use with just different features, but it's a sleeking technology.
Yeah.
So sleeking is the machine that they have will be capable of sleeking technology and producing.
So it's a Nobello's sleeking device. Let's keep it simple here, and then there's obviously model 1, 2, and 3, so to speak. Darren wants to know, how good is the register when overprinting on top of the foil?
It's good. Anytime, yeah. I mean, look, we still live on planet Earth. There's still gravity and friction. So anytime you're
really?
taking a machine, exactly. I mean, the foil exactly registers because the foil is sticking to the ink. But if you think about it, you're taking a sheet of paper, you're running it through a machine. It's getting hot. It's getting cool. You're running it through another machine. It's getting hot. It's getting cool. So you're changing the properties of paper because moisture is a key ingredient of paper, water. So you're affecting that mix. So when you go back to reprint again, it's really accurate, but sometimes you'll see edges and things like that. That's where you have to have a little bit of patience with this, or accept some slight imperfections, but it's minimal. I mean, the only thing is when you have a hairline, and I mean a fractional hairline of foil sticking out, you can see the color shift, and any samples you get will show that. And I think that you'll be delighted with it. I really do. It's minimal.
We got a lot of questions, guys, so I really would like to try and get as many of them as we can. Heather wants to know, what's the difference between cold foil and sleeking? And I can speak to that if you don't. Hey, I can answer a lot of these.
Go ahead.
Me? Me, myself, and I? Okay.
Yeah.
So cold foil works with offset printing usually. So it's basically a setup that runs on an offset press. That means you need a larger print run. While sleeking is specifically made for digital presses. That means you can have like one-offs, and that's the variable data option. But you can also obviously do like 100 or even 1,000 of something. So it's perfect for these smaller runs and smaller sheet sizes that you need. Also works with some of the uncoated papers, as we talked about, while cold foiling. I think there's just one paper on the market at the moment that is approved for uncoated paper that is approved for cold foiling. Hope that answers that. If you have more questions, let me know. Christina wants to know. Sorry?
I was going to say I was under the cold foil is more of a packaging. It generally was developed more for packaging than specifically print.
Christina wants to know, so the foil adheres to the ink, but can you also overprint that foil? And I know we talked about this, but I think it's a point that needs to be made again and again.
Yeah, and that's how we were creating some of those effects. So yes, even to get all of the colors, going back, this would be an overprint here. So what was laid down here first in Chris's example, that was a silver foil, and then all of the color you're seeing is an overprint on top of that foil. So that is one of the key features of this whole new, an element of this technology that brings this new creative option to it.
Mm-hmm.
It really is hard to capture it with the photos, but you can hopefully pick it up here.
Mm-hmm. What colors do the foils come in? And is it a sheet, traditional, or toner? Okay, what colors do the foils come in? Let's do that one.
think there's
as many colors as you can print.
Yeah. And there's new foil colors coming out that are being available. The main ones right now, I know Chris spoke to that too, is there's the rose golds, the silvers. And really the amazing thing with the base of the silver foil is that you can, from there, you can, the whole color palette really is your options there. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a sheet that shows it's basically like a PMS sheet. If you took the entire CMYK book, you could literally print it over top of the foil, and the foil it looks like that colored foil. So the ink is not opaquing out the foil. So you can pretty much, like, if you wanted to do your brand mark in foil, you could do that. Uh-oh.
There. I'm sorry. I was on mute. I'm sorry. I've been talking and I was on mute. And it was so profound what I said, and you missed it. No, I just found this image and I wanted to quickly share it. That's what you were talking about, Chris, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, great.
And they all look like foils of that color. Yeah.
Right. Heather wants to know, and I thought it was a great question, how metallic, effective, or shiny, if you will, is sleeking results in comparison to hot foil stamping?
It's the same.
I think you're getting the same metallic shine. I mean, if you're overprinting in color, that's a good sample showing there. Chris, can you may be able to speak a little directly? Any of the results I've seen, I mean, the sheen is brilliant. It's a very much a foil. It's not just a shine.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this image that's being brought in, I mean, says it all. Like, these are, if you looked at a foil stamping book and saw these colors, it would look like this. I mean, it really is. I don't see it. It's foil. Foil is foil, right? So it's very much like hot stamping foil.
And it is reflective. Like, I just have something in front of me right now. Again, it is reflective. Like, I can see my reflection within it. So if you're wondering to that degree.
That's why it was so hard to shoot the photos, because it is so reflective. Follow-up question from Heather, and I think this is one that came up a number of times. So is there a tactile debossing at all on the sheet? Like when we normally do hot foil stamping, there's a slight deboss effect, like a tactile effect.
So there is not, and there's an upside and a downside to that. The upside is it doesn't show up on side B. The downside is on certain sheets, if you have a texture to the sheet, that's going to show through the foil. So you're not creating that pressure and heat to smooth out the sheet. You're actually overprinting ink, and then the glue from the backside of the foil is sticking to where the ink is.
All right. Sarah wants to know, can you get the sleeking foil on both sides of the paper, or can you only sleek one side?
You can do both.
Quick. That's done. He's done. Next. Wow. I think usually he goes on and on. So, okay. Julie wants to know, are there many of these sleeking units at printers in the U.S. market? And I can answer this. So there currently are more than 70 installed, and there will be more. So a lot of digital printers have the device then in-house, like Chris, like at Perfect Communications, if you've heard of him. Hang on, God, you guys keep it coming. The questions are getting more, not less. I love it. Paul wants to know, are coated stocks optimal, or more toothy stocks like uncoated stocks suitable? And we answer that in a way, but maybe for some of those who haven't heard it.
The technology was developed for coated stocks, but again, just where people have gone with the creativity of it, I mean, and what's available, like Chris said, with laying down more ink builds on paper, there's certainly the possibilities for other stocks. Chris, you can probably expand on that as well.
Yeah, I would say you get optimal results on coated paper. But with the right creativity, you can really do stuff on uncoated as well.
Yeah, I think it's the testing part. I personally love the uncoated part, but you need to be willing to test, as Chris pointed out. Give it a little bit more time. Someone wants to know, does the paper stock need to be treated in any special way for the sleeking? For instance, we all heard about that some, like the indigo, at some point in time, the paper needed to be pre-treated.
Yeah. No, you just have to have the indigo ink on it. Or whatever the digital printing inks, yeah.
So I'm trying to do, is clear foil an option?
Yes.
I think that was in
well,
your
we're getting to the home stretch, people, because Chris is only giving us yes and no answers here.
Hey,
Erica,
I've become self-aware during this.
No, I'm just saying that this sample was one with clear foil, I believe.
Yes, just had clear foil.
Jeff has a great question. Can you emboss or deboss after the printing without cracking?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, let me just see something here. We've done it, and we have, I'm trying to see if I have a piece with me. The answer is yes, you can.
And we're back to these little short questions, answers, I'm sorry. Laura wants to know, what's the maximum width that can be printed or foiled in that regard, obviously?
That's really partial, I think, to the size of the sleeking machine you're working with and its paper maximums, or the width, maximum widths that you have available there.
Chris, what's your maximum width?
Yeah. In our case, it's 20 inches. So you could literally do a 20-inch wide solid if you wanted.
Right. And because it comes from a roll, as you see here a little bit, there's the roll up top. See? That means you can go the length of the sheet. So it's just making sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and that looks like it's about an 18-inch wide sheet right there.
How the heck would he know that? Oh, because the foil is 20. Oh, look at that. Craig wants to know, will the foil hold up if I used it on business cards?
We have it on
Certainly,
ours.
like I think.
Now
yeah, that's a main application too, like that's available.
And I would personally over-laminate business cards because they get treated rough. Business cards, and so we've done that on ours. Plus, if you use the right laminate, you can create a really interesting card. So ours has soft touch on one side and a leather laminate on the other, and it's all done on the same machine.
All right. Al wants to know, how about white foil?
I've heard that there are some white foils in the work. Someone else, I'm just trying to think of the conversation that it was, whether they laid down white ink. There are definite ways to get around, to work with it to create that effect, and I don't want to say that there was a white foil in the works. I feel like that was in conversation, but I'm not promising anything.
Yeah, so no, well, what I would do is I would over-laminate white with clear foil because if you over the HP Indigo, the white ink actually would opaque out any foil underneath it, so you wouldn't be able to do like a metallic white. But if you over-laminate it with gloss, then you could get that effect. But the Indigo white ink has a little bit of a gloss level already if you're on an uncoated paper. But if you went to a coated sheet, you could over-laminate it, and you would get a really high gloss white that way.
All right. We're on the home stretch here, people. I really try, but I probably have to rein you guys in to answer the questions offline as well because we still have more than 50 questions in the pipeline here. Al wants to know, can you put the soft touch over the foil, and will it still look like foil? I brought this just for you, Chris. I picked this just for you.
It looks way cooler. So this is soft touch. And what happens, if you look here, you don't get, and here's a comparison, because it's one of my favorite things. This is what the foil looks like before soft touch, and that's after. You can't really see it as much on this shot, but on this shot, you can see what it does. So it actually creates a supple-looking metal. It's so, I love it. I'm in love with silver foil or overprinted foil under soft touch. And you can also print, I don't have any samples of it, but you can print it on top of soft touch as well, and you get a really nice smooth finish with that also. You can do it either way. I will say if you do it on top of the soft touch, then you can't overprint the foil after that. Right now there's not a printable foil that sits on top of laminate unless it's been developed within the last 30 days.
What? There's something you don't know about? Yeah, so we did this, and this is not the actual card actually, but we did it on these cards. I remember that one of the cards that we ended up using was soft touch and then the foil on top, and then we couldn't overprint the foil. So I thought I had the sample here, but we don't. But just chiming in there to emphasize Chris's point. And the last question I want to take for today is people want to know how can they find out where to find a printer that offers the technology, and you basically go to nobelos.com and do the contact us, and they match you up with the best printer for your project, or you just go to Perfect Communication, right, Chris?
Yes, I was going to say, you go to slide 1.
See, go back. Go back to slide 1. So you guys still have a lot of questions, which I love. We leave the chat box open for a little bit because I think they're all great questions and important, and we will wrestle Erica and Chris into answering them offline and then send you a link to the answers. Quick last reminder, we leave if you want to win one of the 25 Sleeking notebook sets, Sleeked notebook sets, please go to bit.ly/Sleeking sample, and this is case sensitive, and enter your information, and hopefully you will get one of these fabulous sets. If you are a VIP member of Paperspecs, you will get one of those in your next VIP box. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time and your knowledge. I really appreciate it. And I would like to thank Nobelos again for making this event possible and for consistently bringing new and enticing technologies our way to help us make our printed projects even more perfect and more stunning. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks to Erica and Chris for sharing their knowledge, and you all have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sabine.
Thank you.